Good morning, everybody. February 8th, 2024, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 9:01 if we're splitting hairs. This is the Ask Me Anything. I've got the questions called up. I'm quasi ready to answer them. I'm 2 cups of coffee in, and so let's do this. As always, the questions are great. All of you are very smart. Good questions. All right, let's just get right in. I think I can get through all of them, which would be cool. First one is from Dan V. It says, difficult question warning. For somebody with an extremity injury, I'm 6 weeks in a walking boot, leg cast, wrist splint. I hope those are just examples and not everything that's going on with you right now. How would you recommend they go about attacking the daily Linchpin programming? How should they think about replacements for a particular movement that will still keep them somewhat on track during this period of rehab? Great question. So, first of all, I would recommend you go to the Varied Not Random podcast. You can obviously on like all the podcast platforms. If you want to watch it, you can go to YouTube. But Varied Not Random episode 5, one of the first ones that we did, is called Working Out with an Injury. And that is an entire podcast specifically on that topic right there. But short answer is, with a little bit of knowledge, such as what is discussed in the podcast, you can absolutely work out with an injury, like without a doubt. Sadly, I've had a lot of things happen to me and I've lived this life. This is not a theoretical concept. And all my injuries have not been from strength and conditioning or working out. They're from dumb things I did on motorcycles, accidents in the military or whatnot. I had a level 5 separation in my AC joint that was miserable right now. I worked out through that. I was on the cusp of needing surgery or not needing surgery, but my surgeon was like, I don't think cutting you open is going to give you a better outcome. Let's try it without surgical intervention. And so that's that. I broke my pelvis in the year 2000. That was a bummer. I'm just almost 3 months post a total hip replacement surgery where they, sawed off the head of my femur and gave me a new one, and all kinds of stuff like that. I've worked out the entire time, following whatever was, the prescription of the day and modifying as needed. So go to Varied Not Random number 5 and you will receive all the answers that you need. But short answer, you can do it. Elisa B. When doing a low intensity training, is it still important to hit the most likely time, or is the time indicator more for high intensity efforts? That's a great question. And now that you ask that, I can't believe it hasn't been asked before or that I haven't brought it up. It's a great question. So if you're doing, we're big at Linchpin about modulating intensity, that if you want to do high intensity every day, that's a great way to run into a brick wall and hit a plateau and mentally, physically, emotionally just burn out. So we recommend low intensity days have value. I know, shocking compared to the classic CrossFit methodology. Moderate intensity days have value. And of course, high intensity training days do. Without question, intensity drives results. But point being, if you think you can redline every day, you're either an android lying to yourself or it just hasn't caught up with you yet. Those are the only 3 categories. So, with the most likely time, the more likely time, the super fitness robot times that we put in to the Linchpin private track, the super fitness robot time is just that. Somebody's really decided to get after it. And they're a heck of an athlete on top of that. The more likely time, that is if somebody is, approaching it with a moderate to moderately high. They're pushing themselves, they're huffing and puffing, they're keeping themselves uncomfortable level of intensity. Okay, but I wouldn't say that's a low intensity effort. And so if you're doing a low intensity day, I wouldn't pay attention to those times. I wouldn't worry about it at all. You'll be good to go. All right, let's see. Next one is from Nikos G. Say I want to include 30 minutes of sport-specific training, basketball in my example, somewhere in the week. What days would work best fitness-wise? For example, I did it after heavy deads the other day and didn't feel as sore after the lifting. Then proceeded to shoot the lights out the following day. Did I shortchange my gains, though? No, I don't think you shortchange your gains at all. And first of all, great job on shooting the lights out. My two boys are basketball fanatics, and yeah, so, ball is life, as they say. The sport-specific training that you're talking about, if you're just talking about a 30-minute session a week, that's it. And it depends upon what that sport-specific is. If you're out doing basketball shooting drills, positions, ball handling, some, 3-on-3, whatever it happens to be, I feel like you can almost stick that in anywhere that you want, and you won't have any disruption to your physical fitness training in any way, shape, or form. And if for whatever reason, based on sleep, based upon how the day hit you, based upon how that 30-minute sport-specific training session went, you're feeling a little bit tired the next day, that's why you're an intelligent, autonomous, free human being in the world, and then you just ratchet down the intensity the next day. If that's the right decision, then you'll be right back on track and feeling good. But I think you could do that once or twice a week with no ill effects in any way, shape, or form. And quite frankly, and then just listen to your body. If you do start to feel that it is a bit too much for you, well, then it's just one of those, it's an economics equation, right? I mean, everything has there's a cost-benefit analysis. And if you feel that you want to do 2 of these 30-minute sessions a week and it is negatively affecting your strength and conditioning, well, then that's just a reality, and you need to make a decision as to which one of those 2 you prioritize. Is it the basketball, or is it what you're doing in the gym? And there's not a right or wrong answer. It's just which one you decide is more important to you. And then you find that balance and you're good to go. And I'm not surprised that if you did some basketball after the heavy deads the other day, that you felt pretty good the following day. Because, if you want to just turn your legs into concrete, one of the best things you can do is heavy lift or work out and then just not do anything. Just go sit down for 3 hours and let everything tighten up. So the fact that after you pulled some heavy deads, you went out and you moved your body and shot around some basketball for 30 minutes, I completely believe that you felt good the next day. Okay, Eric H. Some friends have convinced me to do a trail run in May. It's a relay, and I'll have a 16.5 kilometer leg. Any advice on what to add to Linchpin to get ready? Some longer distance volume, extra single leg work to prep for the hills, etc., etc. So, Eric, first of all, awesome. Short answer, you know what? I'm going to just flaunt my ignorance as an American. Let's do 16 kilometers, 2 miles. How far are you running here? 10 miles ballpark is how far you're going. Okay. So for that distance, I also feel profoundly confident saying that you could just go do it. I know that might sound crazy. And it would be crazy other than the literally overwhelming amount of testimonials we have from Linchpin members that go out and do things like that all the time and do quite well. So now you might be able to do better, add in some running volume, things like that. So what I tagged you in, Eric, there's an actual, on the BTWB app, we have the Linchpin squad, but then there's also another squad, a Linchpin squad in the BTWB app, and the name of it is Unofficial CrossFit Linchpin Endurance Squad. And it's headed up by a gentleman by the name of Ryan S. He's a Linchpinner and distance enthusiast. And I also tagged Ryan in your comment here on this Facebook post for the Ask Me Anything question. And so you two can connect there. He can lead you to that group, and then you can just bounce those questions right off of everybody. But point being, people are doing what you're about to do regularly, and you'll be good to go. 100% good to go. Okay, let's see. Next question is from Brian T. I was listening to a very not random podcast the other day about weight belts, grips, tapes, etc. You and Boz both talked about hand care for calluses to prevent hand tears, etc. Can you please expand on how you go about trimming your calluses, what you use, how to do it, and how often? Sure. So this just works for me. And this might be relatively barbaric. I don't know. It's not fancy technology. But basically, I get a set of toenail clippers. Literally a set of toenail clippers. And when my calluses in my hands start to, they come off a little bit, they're protruding, they're bulbous, whatever you want to say there, I just stick those toenail clippers on there and just take bites out of them. Obviously not so far down that I get the skin that's not calloused and hurt myself and start to bleed. I don't do that. I just get the chunks off so that they're not exposed, because when they start to get off the skin, that's when they get on something and they move and then suddenly they tear. And so that's literally all I do, and it's super simple. I'll just trim. I'll trim across the palms there. I get a little one like on my thumb right there, maybe some ones like right there. Wherever I feel them, I just cut them right off. And there's plenty of other tools like that, from abrasive material to stones to shavers and all that, and you can do that. But I've just found old school toenail clippers, they do the trick really well, and my hands don't tear. And maybe that's just me, but they work pretty darn good. Okay, also from Brian T. I've heard you mention several times about quote-unquote interference during certain workouts. What do you mean by this? Great question. So, interference just means the movement patterns, exercises in the workout make your life worse. I'm joking about that, but meaning, let's take Fran, okay? So for Fran, you have a thruster paired with a pull-up, okay? So the thruster it's a shoulder overhead, you pass below parallel. It's leg drive, a leg-driven press to overhead, okay? Leg-driven press. Below parallel, leg-driven press. The pull-up is not below parallel. It's not leg drive. Yes, I know that the hips are involved with kipping. I get that. It's not a below parallel leg drive, and it's not an overhead press. It's an upper body pull. And so those two movement patterns put together are devastating and miserable. Like, don't get that twisted up in your head. But the two are complementary with regards to, they have a very low amount of interference between the two. Compared to, let's take the hero workout, JT is a great example. So JT has 3 movements, and every single one directly interferes with the other one and makes the next one harder. JT is handstand push-ups, ring dips, and push-ups. So handstand push-ups is an upper body pressing movement. Ring dips is an upper body pressing movement. Push-ups is an upper body pressing movement. So every single one directly interferes with the next one. So that's an example of a workout that has a high degree of interference. Fran, devastating as it is, would be an example of something that has a low amount of interference. If you're doing running and pull-ups, that would be a low interference workout. If you're doing pull-ups and knees to elbows, that's a high interference workout. And both have value. Generally speaking, it should make sense in your head that if you have low interference between the movements, most athletes will be able to keep chugging along at a nicer clip than if you have a ton of interference in the workout. Now, both have value, and so both should be a part of your programming, and hopefully that just kind of helps you understand what that means there. Eric CM, what kitchen appliances do you use the most and the least? Do you prepare food daily or batch it, or do batch cooking? Do meal prep Sunday? I don't do batch cooking, and I don't do meal prep Sunday. I basically just walk in and prepare every single meal as needed and then eat it right then. Kitchen appliances, I'm such a simple eater most of the time. I don't use a blender or mixer or anything too complicated, to be honest with you. It's just my stove and pots and pans is really, what I use in, my oven. Stove, oven, pots and pans. That's the overwhelming majority of what I use, and it gets it done. But no, I don't do any batching, and I don't do any meal prep. Maybe life would be easier if I did, but I do not currently. Christopher DB, probably a little late for an AMA question. Nope, you got it in. You're good. Curious on your thoughts with rucking. The military uses it for training and moving equipment in the real world, but it truly beats down your body. Now CrossFit can be seen advocating rucking as fitness. Do you feel the benefits outweigh the ailments that happen from rucking so much, or for beginner rucking? So, interesting question, right? I think it just depends upon how you do it, right? I mean, the rucking, I'm familiar with this as well from the military. The rucking that we did in the military, it was not a joyous experience. It was always heavy. Always. You just got too much crap that you're lugging around. And it was always for a very long time. And it was always not in the best, most comfortable pack. And it was always in undulating terrain at night and miserable, and you're tripping and falling on your weapon, and it's just, hopefully, the rucking that occurred in the military is far different than the quote-unquote rucking that's done in the civilian world when people are doing it voluntarily. A lot of that's going to be determined by the pack that you have on your back, the comfort level. A lot of that's going to be determined by the terrain in which you choose to walk. Is it undulating and up and down hills and whatever it happens to be, and then the load that you choose to put into that rucksack will have a huge a huge impact as well. So all of those factors are up to the individual and should, in my mind, make the rucking that occurs in the civilian world infinitely different than the rucking that occurs in the military world, okay, even though they're both rucking. And so, yeah, I would say if you're advocating it, or if somebody is advocating it as a part of fitness, how much weight are they saying you should be putting in there? How frequently are they saying that you should do it? What's the distance and the pace that they're saying that you should do it? All that stuff. Here's the other part, and I know, heaven forbid I say anything about this, they're a sponsor of the games, where it happens to be. You could not ruck for your entire life and be wonderfully fit and capable for whatever happened to cross your path, to include putting a rucksack on and going for a walk with it. It may suck more, it might be miserable, it might be uncomfortable, you might not be accustomed to it or whatnot, but you're going to have some baseline level of capacity if you have tremendously strong legs, a rock solid midline, and fantastic conditioning that you have developed through your strength and conditioning program. But the opposite is not true. If all you did was ruck, although it's far better than doing nothing, you would not magically develop below parallel capacity, a strong deadlift, overhead ability, a fast 5K time, a smoking fast 400-meter dash, strict dead hang pull-ups. The list goes on and on and on. So if you are interested in rucking, in my mind, I don't make it out to be more than it is. If it's something you would like to do because you enjoy, that is your wonderful right and freedom. Have at it. If it's therapeutic and good for you, have at it. If you like to test yourself based upon pace or terrain or loading, have at it. But I personally, if somebody's asking me what is the recipe for long-term health and fitness, it's overwhelmingly devoting yourself to a well-thought-out strength and conditioning program, and then the things that you choose to do in addition or to or on the side of that are just things that you do because you happen to enjoy them. What's really cool about rucking, again, as long as you're smart with the distance and the load and the terrain and all that, it gets you outside. Honestly, that, in my mind, is one of the coolest and best things about it, because there's like shocking statistics as to the amount of time, percentage of each day of your life that Americans, and maybe worldwide as well, spend indoors and not outside. And so if you have yourself some sort of an activity that forces you to get outside and go for a weighted walk for an hour, that's a really good thing as far as I'm concerned. And so it's just, it is what it is. Okay. Jonathan B. I recently reached a body weight and composition that I'm happy with, and I'm also seeing good performance during the workouts. Awesome. What are your thoughts on if there would be a benefit to doing try to gain a lot of muscle, which also comes with some not good weight, and then do a fat loss cycle over the next year versus just maintaining my weight? This is an interesting question. I want to stop for a second and reread the first sentence, because I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people's life goal is to achieve what Jonathan says he has accomplished in this first sentence, and sadly a lot of people fail, and this should be celebrated. I recently reached a body weight and composition that I'm happy with, and I'm also seeing good performance during the workouts. It's like the Holy Grail. You have achieved the Holy Grail. You like how you look, and you're performing well. You're at the finish line. I mean, that's amazing. And now your question is, should I tinker with that? I really like how I look, and things are going pretty darn good in the gym. And so I'm thinking about changing things up. Now, I'm being a little lighthearted there in that, but really, I mean, quite frankly, that's the basis of the question to some degree. So my gut feeling is, after all that hard work that you just did to now enter in and getting to that body composition that you're happy with, I don't need to tell you because you just did it. I bet it wasn't easy. I bet it was hard and took a lot of discipline and dedication. And now you go on to enter some sort of a yo-yo cycle where you're going to bulk up in the hopes of putting on some muscle mass. It's going to come with some fat, and then I got to tighten the diet back up again, and then I'm up and then I'm down. If you're asking my personal opinion, I would say you're good where you're at. Do your best to eat clean. Make sure you're getting enough darn protein. Get plenty of sleep. Hit the workouts hard when it makes sense. Give the heavy days the respect they deserve, and let life take you where it takes you. I would not recommend the yo-yo cycle of trying to gain a bunch and lose a bunch, gain a bunch and lose a bunch. That would be my personal 2 cents on that. But of course, free to do whatever you like. Ron S. Hello, I'm just joining Linchpin about 2 weeks ago. Welcome, Ron. First of all, great workouts and warm-ups. I've enjoyed all of them. The videos are an absolute game changer, especially the intensity one. So, very cool, good. That's great. What Ron's talking about is every day on the Linchpin private track, we have a video specifically with me talking to you about some ins and outs of that workout that might not leap off the paper at you just reading it, so you understand it a bit better and you can make the best decision. Then every Friday we have a video about modulating intensity. Do you program 1 rep max test days? Yep, you'll see 7x1 days on there, and on those days you can either hold the weight across the same, you can go up, you can go down, or that's a great day to go ahead and try to establish an actual true 1 rep if you want, and then back it down for the remaining reps. So yes, you will absolutely see 1s, 2s, 3s, 5s, 10s, all the good stuff as well. You'll see on classic heavy days on all the major lifts. And then you'll also see heavy days at a high heart rate as well. And if you're new to the program, Ron, anytime that a heavy day pops up, in addition to the daily video chatting about that workout, there's another video that we attach to those days entitled How to Approach Heavy Days. You only need to watch it once, but it covers a whole bunch of common questions all about heavy days, so make sure you check that out. And like I said, that's on any day that we have a heavy day. What is your opinion about supplements like creatine? Short opinion is that most supplements are most likely just a money grab that don't give you what they promise, and that you would be better served by just buying better food and making better nutritional choices and getting great sleep and taking good care of your body. However, from speaking to some people who are more intelligent on this particular topic than I am, it seems like even though there's a lot of nonsense out there in the supplement world, the two that generally seem to be not a total waste of money and actually kind of do what they say they'll do are most protein powders, though not all, and creatine also seems to be another one that generally gets the nod of approval. So that might be something worth looking into for you. My overhead shoulder mobility is not good. Oh, I feel you, brother. Do you have drills or stretches to improve mobility? I mean, there are literally countless ones out there on the internet for free. Squat University is a really good YouTube channel for all sorts of mobility skills and drills. So that would be probably the number one resource that I would point you towards, and you can find shoulder specific items there. And the success that you have with any of that will probably largely be dictated by what is restricting your shoulders. Is it just an impingement? Are you tight? Did you have an injury? Or do you have some sort of actual mechanical restriction that no amount of lacrosse balls or bands is going to fix in any way, shape, or form? Thinking about myself, and I could not get my hip past parallel no matter what I did. Well, come to find out, I had a bone spur on my hip that was mechanically blocking me at 90 degrees. So no amount of whatever was going to fix that. So really identifying what it is that's holding you back, and then finding some protocols that hit that area, and Squat University will probably be a really great resource for you to do that. Okay, we got two more. What do we have here? Mike M. Question about modulating intensity. Do most people pre-plan what days they hold back and what days they burn it down at the beginning of the week? Or is it more of a see how I feel that day approach? I tend to do the see how I feel when I get to the gym approach. And am I in the minority on this? I get the sense you usually plan in advance. So I guess the short answer is I'm actually with you, Mike. I see how I feel that day. However, to make the video on Friday, looking forward to the week, I have to look forward to the week. And so when I do it on Friday and I look forward to the upcoming week's training, I'm looking at it and, just kind of trying to forecast under ideal conditions, great sleep every day, never sick, the whole 9 yards. What, looking at this, would be the 1 or 2 days that make sense to really get after it? What would be my low intensity day, and what would be moderate? All that good stuff. But I also say in that video that no plan survives contact with the enemy, and I reserve the right to change the plan because I might get a bad night's sleep. One of the kids might get me sick, and I walk into the gym on a day that, when I was glancing into the future, seemed like a great day to burn it down. But then when that day arrives, I'm like, things have changed. Life has thrown a monkey wrench into things, and I'm not going to burn it down today, and it's going to be a low intensity day or a moderate intensity day. So I do the look ahead for the benefit of the community, and so I can hopefully just get people starting to think about it. But I absolutely pay attention to how I feel that day, and that drives the majority of my decisions. And final question from Stephen G. I am between 6 and 7 months post hip replacement. Whew! I'm approaching 3 months. And just completed Jerry prescribed in 2638. First of all, before we even go any further, how awesome is that? Most people probably don't know, because luckily most people have not had a total hip replacement. But they're a bit of a strain on your fitness, if you will. And to be doing Jerry, so if anyone's unfamiliar with Jerry, that's a 1 mile run, a 2K row, and then a 1 mile run. And to do it 6 to 7 months after a total hip replacement, prescribed in 26 minutes and 38 seconds, is absolutely awesome. So Stephen, congrats. All right, so he continues. I don't plan on becoming a distance or endurance runner. Oh, sorry, am I blocking my microphone? It's like my first time in media. I don't plan on becoming a distance or endurance runner, but it feels awesome to run pain-free. Amen to that. In workouts and get that specific stimulus. There are mixed reviews on running with artificial joints, so I'm curious on your individual plans for running again. Thanks for a great training plan and even better. Thanks for a great plan and even better approach to training. Whew, Stephen, good question. So artificial joints and running. I had a really great orthopedic surgeon, and I worked hard to find him, who got athletes, didn't think that squats and deadlifts were the work of Satan, and understood that I was going to get back into strength and conditioning full bore in a way that made sense, and had a bunch of good conversations with him. And the two things that he was like, take your time getting back into jumping. So I've been taking my time getting back into like box jumps and whatnot. I've been doing box jumps with at most so far 12-inch box, but feel good, pain-free and all that. But the running, he was like, look, you can run, okay? You can. You probably don't want to become a marathoner. And his take on that was that everything, it's like all coat hangers these days are plastic, right? But if you're old enough like I am, you remember metal coat hangers, right? If you had a metal coat hanger, you took that piece of metal and you bent it and then you straightened it out. It didn't break. You bent it and you straightened it out. It didn't break again. You'd have to just bend it, straighten it, bend it, straighten it. At some point in time, I don't know how many reps or bends that it would take, it would weaken and it would eventually get really soft and then it would eventually snap in two. Now, not to be that extreme with your hip, but point being, you've got this new artificial joint. It has a certain number of reps, rotations, articulations, stress impacts, whatever you want to say, in its lifespan. And if you are gentler with it, it's probably going to last longer. If you are a rough user with it, it's probably going to wear out quicker. The thing is, these days, based upon what my surgeon said, the technology has come so far that, back in the day, if you got a hip surgery, maybe even like a decade ago or 15 years ago, you could count on that joint wearing out, let's say in, I think he said like 15 to 20 years. So depending upon the age that you had that joint replaced, you could pencil in another one in your life. You're going to get sliced back open no matter what. It's just going to wear out. But my surgeon said basically the materials have improved so much and everything has just advanced. The technology has advanced so much. I'm 48 years old, that he was like, if we were using technology from 15 years ago, I would say, see you again in 15 years. He's like, but now, he's like, you might go the rest of your time on this planet and never need it again. It literally might never wear out. And it just depends upon your level of use. So my personal approach, again, I don't plan on becoming a marathon runner, but I don't intend on shying away from running. What I think I might do, and I'm fortunate enough to have an air runner in my garage, which, it's different than running out on concrete or whatnot, but it's a little tougher on the hamstrings, because it's more of a pull when you run. But I do feel like the impact is lessened on the air runner. And so I've done a ton of running. I just did Jerry the other day as well. And I did it on the air runner. And my goal is to probably do most of my running on the air runner. And then if I go out and run every now and then, I really want to test my Helen time or something like that, I won't be shy about doing that. But I plan on probably not pounding the pavement a ton, but embracing the air runner a lot. So I don't know if that really helps answer your question, because I don't think anyone can say that they definitively know how much you should or should not pound the pavement with an artificial joint. And so that's just kind of my 2 cents there. Okay, that's it. Great questions, everybody. It's Thursday. It's a rest day. Whether it's active or full rest for you, I hope that you enjoy it. Be kind, everybody. Treat each other well, and we'll talk soon.